Hey there, A's Day fans. Welcome to our Friday edition of our show. We have made it through another week and appreciate each and every one of you stopping by to hear our latest thoughts on athletics baseball. Once again, I'm your host, Joe Grotto. Today is Friday, April 17th. We've got a good show for you. After the Texas Rangers have come and gone into West Sacramento, once the dust has settled, the conclusion and result of the series was a 2-2 split. We'll recap what went down in each of the four games, give our thoughts and what it may mean for the remainder of the season. And then for the back half of our show, we will preview their next opponent as the 7-game homestand rolls along as they welcome in the Chicago White Sox from the Windy City for a 3-game set to bring us into the weekend, kicking off with Nick Kurt's bobblehead night tonight in West Sacramento. Plenty to talk about. The A's are riding high. They're playing a better brand of baseball, and we're excited to talk all about it. Holy Toledo, let's go A's. All right there, A's Day fans. Thank you again for tuning in to our Friday show. Appreciate you stopping by to get all caught up to speed on what has been going on in A's universe and what we have to look forward to over this weekend as the season rolls along. But before we get to our first topic of discussion, just want to give you a reminder of where you can find us on our social media platforms, on Instagram at A's Day Baseball Podcast, on X, formerly known as Twitter, at A's Day Baseball, and be sure to check out our YouTube channel for video editions of these episodes, as well as A's baseball content experiences and A's player interviews that have been and will continue to be posted all throughout this season and for seasons to come. And to become an official subscriber of A's Day, check us out on our Patreon site, patreon.com/A's Day. For just $2 a month, you'll be entered to win monthly A's Day t-shirts, A's autographed memorabilia, future A's game tickets, and so much more as we are able to grow this platform collaboratively. All right, let's dive right in. Lots to unpack. Let's discuss what went down in this 4-game set earlier. That's kicked off earlier this week as the A's come in riding high from a 5-1 New York road trip, taking 2 out of 3 from the New York Yankees and sweeping the New York Mets. They flew in on Sunday, looking to quickly flip the page and kick off their 7-game homestand with 4 against the Texas Rangers, as we were treated to a starting pitching matchup of Nathan Eovaldi going for the Texas Rangers, going up against Luis Severino. Happy Sevy Day this past Monday to all who observe. Sevy looking to put behind the year-long struggles at Sutter Health in 2025, as he made his first home start of 2026. It didn't get off to the hottest start. During the first, with 2 on and 1 out, Sevy appeared to slip off the mound after delivering a pitch to Jake Berger. After getting the mound tended to, the next pitch, he serves up a 3-run home run, allowing Texas to take an immediate 3-0 lead. After allowing another home run to Berger in the third, Severino settled in from there, seeing some of his strikeout stuff working despite the early 4-0 deficit. Sevy would end up going 6 innings pitched, 6 hits allowed, 4 runs, 3 walks, 7 Ks. The A's offense simply just couldn't get anything going off Ranger starter Nathan Eovaldi, who looked dialed in from the start, pitching with an early lead. The A's only managed 5 base runners as Eovaldi went 7 innings pitched, 3 hits allowed, no runs, 2 walks, 7 Ks. After pitching a clean 7th, Jack Perkins would be back in for the 8th, and the Rangers would go on to put the game to bed. They would put together a 4-run inning thanks to two two-run singles by Josh Smith and Josh Young to increase the lead to 8. In the bottom half of the inning, Lawrence Butler would belt a solo home run to right his first of the year to get the A's on the board and avoid the shutout. However, it would not nearly be enough, as the Rangers would go on to win this one 8-1, taking Game 1 of this series. So the main thing that stood out to me is Severino's early inning activity in his starts continues to be of the struggle variety, it seems like. It seems like whatever needs to occur simply isn't. And one thing that I've noticed is that it seems like Severino is missing up pretty frequently early in his starts. And typically what that signals to me is that he isn't making the proper adjustment from the bullpen mound to the game mound. And I know it's easier said than done, but you would think someone, especially like a Severino that is a veteran of this game, would have a routine in place to be able to make that proper adjustment consistently. And it seemed like that was the issue that Jeffrey Springs was going through in the first half of last year, where it seemed like we were growing accustomed to him giving up a crooked number in the first inning or some sort of damage to the opposition before settling in and looking like the pitcher that is slated for one of the 5 spots in the A's rotation. So I think that's something where we've seen it on the road. We saw it in Atlanta where Sevy couldn't really get his bearings in that first. We saw it in New York, even in that bulldog of a start against the Yankees, that there was a point where it didn't look like he was going to make it out of that first inning. With the string of singles that the Yankees put together, and then the command issues were unsettled early as he walked a couple of batters, including walking in a run. But then after that first inning of work where he gets his feet on the ground, it really seems like he's able to settle in and go to work. So that's something to keep a note on, and that's something that I'm starring, that I'm going to track as the year goes along. And we'll have a future episode about it if this trend continues. But it's a little bit too early to dive into the numbers, but it does really seem like we're going to start with the initial eye test. Just seems like Severino is does not have the proper routine in place to be ready to go from that first inning on. It seems like his routine has his body activated, and it seems like there's no issues with the velocity being there and his secondary pitches moving at a premium, but the command doesn't seem to come into effect until that second, third inning. And by then, depending on what type of damage the opposition does, the game sets that specific tone, and it could be hard for your team to rally back from that. And that seemed to be pretty clear and apparent that the Rangers came out firing right out of the gate. Jake Berger hit an absolute massive shot. He had 2 massive shots in this one, and it seemed like the Rangers never looked back. And Nathan Eovaldi, who had a couple of tough starts to his 2026, bounced back with a strong one against Seattle, and has an even stronger one here against the A's, where he only allowed 5 base runners in total over 7 innings of work, and it didn't even feel like he allowed that much traffic, to be completely honest. The Dorman offense, they go 5 for 31 in this one, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Just didn't seem like they were able to really string anything together from the start. In fact, I don't even think they got into the hit column until the 4th inning or so, and it seemed like it was an uphill battle from the jump. And not going to make any excuses, but these guys are human. And I would like to just have a little bit of a discussion with the schedule makers that just didn't seem to have the A's best interest in mind here. Concluding a series on the East Coast in New York, having to fly back to California, not having that off day to be able to adjust and get ready for your homestand, but rather they fly back Sunday after the game, and then they have to turn around and play a night game that following day on Monday. Now, I know you are returning home, but just that natural travel and the adjustment with the time zones, your body's going to need that initial day to get back accustomed, especially where you spent an extended period of time on the Eastern time zone. So no excuses, but you can see just the amount of energy that this team had been playing with over the past week seemed to be non-existent, and I can't completely blame them because they must have been running on fumes a bit, and that's going to be a tough task or a tough ask for any team to have that quick of a turnaround from traveling that great of a distance and having to play another professional game. And you can see it in the outcome that I feel like these teams are way more evenly matched than where the Game 1 scoreboard showed, and it just didn't play out that way between the lines. So the Rangers go on ahead and take Game 1 of this series. Nevertheless, if you're the A's, you wipe this one away clean, can't win them all, and the misery of one day can turn into jubilation with success the following day. As Game 2, we were treated to perhaps the best on paper pitching matchup billing here with the way these two have been throwing the ball early. The battle of 2 lefties who have been throwing the ball incredibly well. We were treated to Mackenzie Gore going up for the Texas Rangers, taking on the A's perhaps best starting pitcher of the year thus far, left-handed pitcher Jeffrey Springs. A's look to bounce back while the Rangers look to take advantage in this 4-game set. Jake Berger's hot hitting would continue as he would come through with an RBI single to kick off scoring in the first and help Texas grab an early 1-0 lead. From there, we would fast forward to the bottom of the third. The A's would answer back via the 2-out rally. After Denzel Clark doubled and Shea Langoliers walked with 2 outs, Jacob Wilson would deliver a 2-run single to left to give the A's a 2-1 lead. And then this game would be all about pitching and defense. The A's scratched good at-bats together, chasing Mackenzie Gore after 4 2/3 innings. After the first, Jeffrey Springs went into cruise control and continued to pitch like the A's ace. Over his work, he went 6 1/3 innings pitched, 3 hits allowed, 1 run, 2 walks, 5 Ks. Following Springs' departure, the A's bullpen would limit to Rangers to only allowing 3 more base runners the rest of the way. It would go Springs to Sterner to Harris to Alvarado to Leiter Jr., who locks down his second save of the year. Ball game over. A's hold on to win this one 2-1 and even the 4-game series at 1 apiece. So shout out Jeffrey Springs. He's been absolutely magnificent from the jump. And how we were talking about the recap from Game 1, how Severino hasn't seemed to figure out his early struggles in the starts. On the flip side, Jeffrey Springs absolutely has. Even though he did give up a run in the first in this one, he did a great job of damage control, of staying consistent with his command, with that understanding that you're not always going to be tasked with putting up 0 after 0. Now, that would be brilliant. If he can never allow any runs to the opposition, he would be the best pitcher in the league. But that's not the nature of how it goes. That's not baseball. Last year, in that situation, Jeffrey Springs, he pitched with traffic early. He pitches early with traffic in this one, but only allows 1 run. Last year, just the way where it seemed like he put a little bit extra pressure on himself to pitch a little bit too finely, seems to be throwing the ball way more free and easy. And instead of having that 3-4 run first inning, limits it to 1 run, and then really settles in from there, providing that solid foundation and providing his team an opportunity to have the offense wake up and swing their way back into this one. Now, you look at the onset of this game, it's a 2-1 ball game. There wasn't a ton of offense to speak of. In fact, the scoring was done in this game by the 3rd inning. So that's really kudos to how well Jeffrey Springs has pitched. But how about this A's bullpen stepping up too as well? They covered the final 2 2/3 innings of work. Didn't allow any runs, only the 1 hit and the 2 walks allowed. They did strike out 3 as well. This A's bullpen, while it hasn't looked pretty at times and still not completely sold on the closer by committee theory, guys are beginning to step up in a more consistent fashion. Now, and we'll see a little bit later on in this series recap, that there are a couple of guys that are still trying to find their footing consistently, but as a whole, you are seeing different guys start to fill roles in a positive way and be able to get outs when this team needs it. Last year, there was such a reliance on the A's offense to keep coming back and swinging their way into it. This year, so far, at least early on in the year, that the A's have an opportunity to win in a variety of ways. Their defense has been tremendously improved. The pitching staff has improved as well. Not necessarily everyone up and down this board, as, for example, someone like a Luis Morales, who is projected to be the 3 or 4 in this rotation, is trying to find himself down in AAA. We'll talk about him in a future episode. So it doesn't always necessarily shake out as the plan intended, but you're seeing these bullpen pieces perform as a collective at a better rate than they were at this point last year. Now, there is still nervous time in that pen, without a doubt, and we'll circle a couple of reasons towards the back half of this recap. But early signs are showing that you're seeing a lot of these performances where plenty of guys in this bullpen are stepping up on a nightly basis and giving this team an opportunity to win a lot of these 1, 2, 3-run games that they were on the wrong side of last year. So it's definitely an exciting as they continue to take steps in the right direction for this A's club, finding multiple ways to win. That's how championships are born. Now, the series heading into Game 3 is even at 1 apiece. A's look to roll into the following day and set themselves up with an opportunity to win this series on Thursday afternoon. But first, we would get through the Wednesday night game for Game 3, as we were treated to Kumar Rocker going for the Texas Rangers, going up against JT Ginn for the green and gold. This time, it would be the A's getting the scoring started in this one, as Tyler Soderstrom would rope an opposite field double off the wall, bringing home Carlos Cortez to grab the early 1-0 lead. The A's would move ahead 2-0 in the second after Denzel Clark would come through with an RBI single. In the third, Rangers would get to Ginn as Corey Seager would deposit a 2-run home run to right to tie the game 2-2. We would move along to the sixth, as now this 2-2 game would be in the hands of both teams' bullpens. Ginn would work into the sixth as he seemed to get stronger as the game rolled on. Ginn's line would finish as follows: 5 1/3 innings pitched, 2 hits allowed, 2 runs, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts. In the bottom of the sixth, with 1 on and 2 out, Shea Bangaliers would demolish a 467-foot 2-run home run, the longest homer in baseball to date, his 6th of the year, to give the A's a 4-2 lead. In the seventh, after a leadoff walk to Tyler Soderstrom, Jacob Wilson would add some fireworks as he would blast a 2-run home run, his 1st of the year, to grow their lead to 6-2. This home run would prove very important, as we will learn shortly. 2 on and 2 out in the 8th, Mark Leiter Jr. on, looking to get out of a sticky situation, and unfortunately, he was not able to deliver, as Jake Berger smashed a 3-run home run, his 3rd homer of the series, as the Rangers pull within 1, the score now being 6-5. Joel Kuhnel would come on to get the final out of the 8th, and after the A's went 1-2-3 in the bottom half, Kuhnel would be tasked to close this one out. And once again, he delivers, going 1-2-3, striking out Andrew McCutchen to end this one. A's fans exhale as this one went Ginn to Harris to Barlow to Leiter Jr. to Kuhnel, who earns his 3rd save of the season. Ball game over. A's win 6-5 and have the opportunity to win the 4-game series with a win in the daytime rubber match on Thursday afternoon. So JT Ginn seems to really be getting his legs underneath him early on in this season, and he is in the midst of a transition from being the long reliever in the bullpen to filling a role in this rotation, filling in for Morales, who, like we mentioned, is down in AAA trying to get things right. And Ginn seems to be getting better and better with the more innings he gets. His ERA is now, and we understand it's early, but it's lowered now to 3.31. And while the command does seem to come and go, the guy's an absolute competitor. He's going to keep runs off the board. He's going to keep runs at a premium. And it just feels like every time he's out there, the vibes are all good. The team is playing well behind him defensively. And they want to score runs for him. They want him to succeed. That's just the feel that I get. That it feels like Ginn is pitching out there fearless, filling up the strike zone as much as he can. And it seems like he finds his command as the start rolls along. I think he ended up around 78 pitches to there as he continues to build up his pitch count. But I felt like a lot of his strongest pitches were in that 60 and 70s range, which is very encouraging to see from a young right-hander who sometimes with these younger guys that they typically will find some difficulty sticking to their plan or perhaps needing to get a little creative with their plan when they're going through an order a second and even third time. That Ginn does seem to mix up his sequence rather effectively. With that change of speeds, keeping the opposing lineup off balance and really letting Ginn build on that confidence and just continue to fill up the strike zone more and more as the game rolls along. And I think that was the case in this one, and very encouraging by what Ginn has put on to tape thus far. And he's very valuable to this A's pitching staff as a whole. There's a reason why they love these swingman type guys. That just pure example, they've already changed the role that a guy was in the bullpen in March and is now in one of the starting 5 spots in the rotation come April due to ineffectiveness. And then perhaps later on in the year, there will be a need based on, you hope that everyone makes it through 162 unscathed, but that's not necessarily the nature of our great game. It's a long season. It's a marathon for a reason. and there are going to be injuries that teams need to deal with. So it's good to have valuable guys like, again, who can step up and really serve multiple roles and being that versatile pitcher. So just wanted to give a kudos to him. And the power in this one starts to come through as Shea Langoliers' hot start to the season continues. He hits a 2-run home run to give them the lead, the initial lead, breaking a 2-2 tie in the sixth. Like I mentioned, it's the sixth home run of the year among the AL leaders, especially as a catcher. It's impressive stuff. We saw what Cal Raleigh did in 2025. Perhaps 2026 will be the historic catcher year led by Shea Langoliers. Time will tell there. And then Jacob Wilson gets his first of the year, and looking back at the outcome of this game, proved to be rather important as he extended the lead to 6-2, allowing Mark Kotze the opportunity, a little bit more flexibility, and giving Mark Leiter Jr. perhaps a little bit more leeway to try to shake off some of those early season struggles. Coming in with a 4-run lead, you feel that's a little bit easier to protect than a 1-run lead. He wasn't able to he was able to escape until there was a pitching change with Joel Kuhnel, who actually escaped damage in the eighth. But Mark Leiter Jr., he's one pitch, one batter away, and he just can't make the pitch when he needs it. As Jake Berger had been on fire all throughout this series. He deposits another home run, this time with runners on base in a big way to bring the Rangers within 1. And now Leiters Jr. is inflated to 9, and we know it's early, but it just seems like you're seeing a lot of these occurrences where Leiter Jr. is plugged into a key situation late in the game, and he just hasn't delivered consistently yet. And hopefully he can shake that trend, because that splitter really should be playing to his strengths of being a ground ball pitcher, but you're seeing a lot of his stuff living elevated in the zone. And at this stage of his career, and Leiter Jr. was never really known as a fireballer, but especially as he gets more advanced in his major league career, he is going to need more reliance on location now more than ever. So we'll see if he makes the proper adjustments. I want to give a shout out to Joel Kuhnel, who has really taken the A's universe by storm. That it just seems like he brings an air of confidence that he is going to get the job done. And he's not going to do it with overpowering stuff. He's going to work to both quads into the zone and just fill up the strike zone. He's going to get his strikeouts with a lot of the break on his pitches, but he's also going to let his defense work as a sinker ball, ground ball type pitcher. And really like the presence that he has on the mound, that he is just wherever is meant to be. But if the A's come out on the losing end of whenever Kuhnel is on the mound, it's not going to be anything that he gives away. That opposition is going to have to go out there and earn it. He's already got 3 saves in the early campaign. And if the A's begin to move away from the closer by committee and want to name someone the closer, right now, to me, it's Kuhnel. To me, he gives me the most confidence. And he's been here probably the shortest amount of time out of the bulk of the guys in that bullpen that did break camp with the Major League Club. It's very exciting to see how the baseball season unfolds, and you see these unsung heroes get that opportunity and shine. So we're rooting for them. We'll see how it all shakes out as the season rolls along. But right now, just wanted to shout him out because he gives me the most confidence when I see someone coming out of the A's bullpen, and it's him. I feel like that right now that is their best opportunity to get through the inning unscathed. And after the conclusion of this game, with the A's moving in sole possession of first place in the American League West at 10-8 at the time, they were in sole possession of first place in the AL West for the first time since, yes, that's right, June 19th, 2021. Let that sink in. That means the 2022 season, 23, 24, 25, they were never in first place. Not even at 1-0, not even 2-0, nothing like that. Not even an early season mirage where you can be like, wow, they were in first place for a day or two. Nothing since 2021. So I know it's early in this season too as well, and at this time, before we head to Game 4, 18 games in and you're in sole possession in first place. Not even a tenth, or you're just surpassing a tenth of the way through the season. So there's so much baseball to be played. But it just speaks to the progress that this team is making as they're nearing the end of their rebuild, it feels like. It seems like you have your young core in place, and they're still trying to figure out their pitching development side of things. But you're kind of seeing them break these firsts since. When you start to see those break through, and you're going to see I feel like more and more of positive first for the first time in quite some time. That means your team is coming around the bend on the positive side of team construction and when you're being constructed into a perennial playoff team. So I think the A's are moving in the right direction. Just wanted to share that tidbit of history as we continue and wrap our series recap with the Rangers, talking about what went down during yesterday's Game 4 rubber match. With the A's taking 2 out of the first 3, the task would still be at hand to win the series and needing a quick turnaround after a night game to come back ready to play for a 12:05 p.m. first pitch, as Jack Leiter was tasked getting the ball for the Rangers going up against Jacob Lopez. Windy conditions in West Sacramento would certainly play a factor all throughout. A pair of scoreless frames would kick us off until the third, where the Rangers got on the board first, grabbing a 1-0 lead via a Brandon Nimmo RBI single. To the fifth we go, still 1-0. Jake Berger would drive a run home via the sac fly, increasing the Rangers' lead to 2-0. Lopez would get through 5, limiting damage in a heavy trafficked fifth inning. Lopez would go 5 innings, allowing 3 hits, 2 runs, 4 walks, 5 Ks. To the bottom half we go. A's finally break through against Jack Leiter. With 2 outs, Tyler Soderstrom would smash a ground rule double, preventing Shea Langoliers, who walked earlier in the inning, from scoring as he would have to stay at third. That would not matter, as next batter, Jacob Wilson, continues his hot hitting, with runners in scoring position coming through again with a 2-run single and tying this game 2-2. Carlos Cortez would keep the 2-out rally going and come through with an RBI single, bringing home Wilson and giving the A's a 3-2 lead. In the 6th, the Rangers would tie the game against reliever Luis Medina as Josh Smith ripped an RBI double to tie the game 3-3. In the 7th, on now is Scott Barlow after Medina was relieved after recording an out and allowing a single in the inning. Josh Young would blast a 2-run home run to give Texas the 5-3 lead. Would remain 5-3 into the bottom of the 8th. Rangers would intentionally walk Langoliers to load the bases, creating a force out at any base. Rangers bring on Jacob Latz to face the lefty Nick Kurtz. Kurtz would mishit a fly ball to left that ends up fighting grass due to Wyatt Langford losing it in the heavy winds that just kept pushing the ball further and further away from his grasp. A 145-foot bases-clearing 3-run double would give the A's a 6-5 lead. The swirling winds and glaring sun were unique weather factors affecting these two teams all day long. To the 9th we go. On is Justin Sterner to try to close this one out and preserve the series victory. However, it was just not in the cards for the green and gold. Jake Berger and Josh Young would lead off the inning with singles. Kyle Higashioka would get down a sac bunt. It was hit hard, and Sterner picked the ball up, threw it a bit high off Hernandez's glove, who was covering at third base, in an attempt to get the lead runner. Ball trickles away, allows the runner to come around and score, tying the game at 6. It was the A's only 4th error on the entire season, which is the least amount in Major League Baseball. Jock Peterson would follow with an RBI single. After an out was recorded and the intentional walk was issued, Ezekiel Duran would deliver a 2-run single. When the smoke cleared, it would be 9-6 Rangers. On comes Cal Quantrill out of the Rangers bullpen to close this one out. After allowing a leadoff single to Jacob Wilson, he would get Denzel Clark to ground into a double play before before Lawrence Butler popped out in foul territory to Josh Young to end the game. A's had an opportunity to win this one and the series, entering the 9th with a leadoff single, but it wasn't meant to be. Rangers win 9-6, and this series ends not at 2-2, with both teams concluding this series tied atop the AL West at 10-9. So, first I want to talk about Jacob Lopez. And you can still see that he is not finding the command consistently, but it's certainly an improvement upon what we've seen thus far. And in this one, he started off so strongly, but it seemed like somewhere in the middle of his start, he just lost his consistent release point. And when he's struggling to find that, he tends to miss a little bit more elevated in the zone, starts to get a little bit erratic around the zone, and that's when you see those walk numbers increase. And in this start, I come away not overly enthralled by anything Lopez did, but I felt he battled. He bared down when he needed to, and when the Rangers had traffic on the bases, he limited their damage. He did give up a couple of runs through 5, but with how the Rangers were starting to connect at bats, I feel like the offensive output from their end could have been tremendously greater. With how Lopez performed today, the A's can win that game, and in fact, enter the 9th inning in a position to win this game. This game was definitely the wildest and wackiest one of the series. The swirling winds of the day game in West Sacramento truly played a factor, and that glaring sun really beats down, especially without that upper deck that you have grown accustomed to across Major League Baseball, where a lot of the majority of stadiums have 3 decks in West Sacramento because they're playing in Sutter Health Park, home of the Sacramento River Cats. There's only 2 decks, so the stadium isn't blocking out as much of the sun, and it's coming in at a different angle that I feel these opponents aren't accustomed to. And while the A's not necessarily with how much baseball they've played in their lives, I'm not necessarily saying that the different positioning of the sun is something that they've grown consistently accustomed to, as well as you saw some guys like Soderstrom battling the sun and the winds, having success, however, eventually that you could turn that into a home field advantage. That the more reps that you get out there, the better that these A's defenders are going to get, and more of a disadvantage that these opposing outfielders and even infielders are going to have to deal with in the field during day games at West Sacramento. So very interesting to see if any of these crazy weather factors continue to poke its head. I'm sure it will. Crazy development in that 8th inning where Nick Kurtz, big opportunity, still trying to find his swing at the plate, hits the ball to left field. He just missed it. Didn't put good wood on it at all. In fact, was frustrated himself at the time. Didn't think he would come through to give the A's the lead, down 5-3, but nevertheless does just enough, and the baseball gods seem to be looking down on the A's in that moment, as that ball blew away from Langford's grasp. Was probably the softest ball Kurtz has hit on the year, and it led to 3 runs and a double. So sometimes little cue shots like that, little areas of fortune in a game that beats you down more than it builds you up, perhaps little things like that, sometimes that's all you need if you're Kurtz, to see one go through and have it be a highly productive outcome, to the point when that inning concluded that you were 3 outs away from taking 3 out of 4 from the Texas Rangers and escaping the series with a small lead in the division. But it wasn't meant to be. I know a lot of people were probably clamoring for Joe Kunal in that 9th inning, but it is early in the season. Nevertheless, you can't burn him out. He does seem to be a valuable resource in that bullpen. But Justin Sterner has been rather good as well. Not necessarily as dominant as he was last year, but he's still filling up the zone, and he just wasn't missing enough bats. Today, I don't expect Sterner's struggles to continue like that. He is someone that has proven to be one of the more reliable right-handed arms in that bullpen compared to the guys that they had trotted out. Just wasn't meant to be. And that wild finish where we kept seeing the different lead changes ends up in favor of the Texas being able to salvage this 4-game series, leaving West Sacramento with a 2-2 split and an opportunity for them to continue their early season action, concluding their road trip away from Texas. These 2 teams are going to meet up again, not this weekend, but the following weekend, this time down in Arlington, and we can't wait to see how this series goes, or how that series goes. But until then, we've got plenty of baseball to cover, unpack, and experience. Before we move along to our recap, we want to do our 3 stars of the series. We do feel there were a lot of contributors for the green and gold, but we had to narrow it down to 3 at the end of the day. For our 3rd star, we are going to give it to catcher Shea Langoliers, who seemed to be on base all series. He went 6 for 11 in this one with a double, a home run, 2 RBIs, 4 runs scored, and 5 walks. So you're starting to see that teams are pitching Langoliers a little bit more carefully, especially until Nick Kurtz figures it out. They'd rather pick their poison and try to line up a matchup against the lefty Kurtz, perhaps with the lefty reliever like we saw in today's game. But with the blistering start the Langoliers is off to, pitchers are really choosing not to throw to him consistently, and that's why you're starting to see Langoliers' walk percentage increase dramatically to a career high thus far. Our 2nd star is Jeffrey Springs, who put up another fine quality performance, and he improves to 3-0 in the year. That ERA of 1.46, I believe, is looking rather dashing, and he's really been stepping up as the A's true ace thus far, going another 6 in the third, only allowing a run, and giving the opportunity, setting the tone that even when you're going up against some of the AL's best, that the best has to run through springs, and that he takes pride in his start every fifth day and seems to be pitching with a lot more confidence than he was last year. So our second star, Jeffrey Springs, really setting the tone as one of the, perhaps right now, one of the best starters in the American League, and has set the tone for this A's starting rotation. And then our first star, we head to shortstop. This player gets his first star from A's Day of the Year. We're going to Jacob Wilson. He was just a machine with runners in scoring position, having 3 massive hits. On the series as a whole, he went 5 for 16. He had a home run, 6 RBIs, and a walk. He seemed to keep coming through with 3 2-run knocks with runners in scoring position and really making a difference, especially in the 2 games where the A's were victorious. But even in this 4th and final game, Wilson was responsible for tying the game back up at 2 and giving the A's an opportunity to perhaps close out this series victory. And he is creeping up the leaderboards in terms of defensive prowess, really making highlight reel after highlight reel play. Looking forward to continuing to watching Jacob Wilson's overall development as a professional baseball player. This episode is brought to you by the Holiday Inn Sacramento Downtown Arena. Stay in the heart of downtown at Holiday Inn Sacramento Downtown Arena, ideally located near Old Sacramento Waterfront, Golden One Center, and Downtown Commons Doco. Our full-service Sacramento hotel is just 15 minutes from Sacramento International Airport and within walking distance of the California State Capitol and Safe Credit Union Convention Center. Host meetings, conferences, and social events in our flexible boardrooms and ballrooms, supported by experienced on-site sales and events teams. Enjoy modern amenities, including a rooftop outdoor pool, on-site fitness center, and Cypress Grill, serving breakfast, dinner, and cocktails. Guest rooms and suites feature comfortable workspaces, contemporary amenities, and city views, making them ideal for both short stays and extended visits. Whether you're attending an event, planning a meeting, or exploring Sacramento dining, entertainment, and cultural attractions, and obviously, or if you're in town to catch an A's home game, our downtown location keeps you close to it all. Downtown access, full-service comfort, easy booking. Stay at our downtown Sacramento hotel. All right, let's get to the back half of today's show and preview the next A's opponent as the 4-game series against the Rangers is over and done with, and we switch our attention to not a divisional opponent, but another American League opponent as the A's welcome in the AL Central Chicago team, the Chicago White Sox. The White Sox, led by Will Venable, come in with a record of 6-13 and fresh off being swept in a 3-game series against the Tampa Bay Rays. They lost 8-5, 8-3, and 5-3. Offensively, they are hitting at a 193 batting average as a team, which is the worst in baseball. They've hit 14 home runs, which is tied for 24th. They've scored 57 runs, which is the 3rd least. They have walked 66 times, which is 15th, and they've struck out 172 times, which is the 5th most in baseball. On the mound, they haven't fared much better. They've pitched it to a 5.02 ERA, which is the 3rd worst mark in baseball. They've walked 79 batters, which is the 6th most. They've struck out 137, which is the 5th least. And they've pitched to a 1.46 whip, which is the 3rd worst mark in baseball. Defensively, they fielded it at a 981 fielding percentage, which is 22nd, and they've made 12 errors, which is tied for the 8th most amongst a conglomerate of teams. For their starting lineup, now we understand that it is going to change throughout the series. Based on what we have seen from the bulk of their first games of series, this is how their starting lineup projects. Leading off in left field will be Andrew Benintendi. Batting second, the designated hitter signed from Japan this offseason, off to a pretty good power start. He's got 5 home runs early, Muntaka Murakami. Batting third at first base, Miguel Vargas. Batting fourth, the exciting shortstop, Colson Montgomery. Batting fifth over at second base, Sam Antonacci. Batting sixth at third base, Tanner Murray. Batting seventh in right field, Tristan Peters. Batting eighth, the catcher, Edgar Caro. And batting ninth, the center fielder and brother of Ronald Acuna Jr. will be Luis Angel Acuna. Now, let's take a look at the game times and starting pitching matchups for this weekend series. Game 1, which will be kicking off later tonight, 6:40 p.m. Pacific Standard Time first pitch. Davis Martin will be getting the ball for the White Sox going up against Aaron Savali. Game 2 tomorrow, Saturday, and both weekend games, both weekend games on Saturday and Sunday are day games. Saturday, 1:05 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Eric Fetty will be getting the ball for the White Sox going up against Luis Severino. So mark your calendars for all who observe for a Sevy Saturday. And then Game 3, the rubber match of this three-game set, also a 1:05 p.m. Pacific Time first pitch start. Left-handed pitcher Noah Schultz, the number 2 prospect in the White Sox organization, will be getting the ball in his second career start, I believe, going up against lefty Jeffrey Springs. So perhaps another lefty duel will be on our hands. Let's get to know the White Sox starting pitchers that will be featured in this series a little bit. So Davis Martin, right-handed pitcher, he'll be getting the start tonight. Thus far, he has made 3 starts, pitching 2-1 to a 2.50 ERA. In 18 innings pitched, he's walked 4 batters, 15 strikeouts, and pitched to a 1.11 whip. In his last start, they lost at Kansas City, but not because of his efforts. He pitched rather brilliantly. He went 7 innings, allowing 7 hits, 2 runs, no walks, 3 Ks. On the year thus far, his fastball has averaged 93.6 miles an hour, and he works with a 6-pitch mix: fastball, changeup, cutter, sinker, slider, and curveball. Martin is the type of pitcher that is going to attack and come right at you. He has pitched to only a 5.7 walk percentage, which is the 83rd percentile of all qualified pitchers in baseball, according to Baseball Savant. Martin is regarded as a dependable back-end to middle rotation starter, respected for his veteran leadership. Martin relies on that pitch mix that saw him survive a low strikeout rate of a 9.3 K percentage in 2025, though efficient ground ball oriented pitching, though his 4.10 ERA was supported by a fortunate 274 BABIP. So perhaps a little bit of luck was on his side. He worked with pitching WRX on lower body mechanics, focusing on sharpening his existing arsenal to prepare for a heavy workload as a key rotation member, and it seems like the early results show that it has paid off. The Game 2 starter is Eric Fetty for the White Sox. He'll be pitching tomorrow on Saturday. Thus far in the year, he's pitched in 3 games, 2 of those starts, with a record of 0-3 with a 3.38 ERA. In 16 innings pitched, he's walked 3 batters, 12 strikeouts, and a 106 whip. In his last start, he also lost to Kansas City. He went 5 innings, allowed 3 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 4 Ks. And his fastball thus far in the year has averaged 94 miles an hour. And Fetty likes to work with a 4-pitch mix: a sweeper, cutter, sinker, and changeup. Fetty is also going to be the pitch type that is going to come right at you. In fact, his walk percentage is even lower. He has pitched to a 4.7 walk percentage, which is in the 87th percentile of all qualified pitchers. He's coming off a season, Fetty, in 2025 that concluded with a 5.49 ERA across 3 teams. He has stabilized early in 2026, showcasing improved command and better location than his previous MLB stints through his 3 appearances with the White Sox thus far. He is regarded for his excellent athleticism, the ability to repeat his delivery, and significantly has improved his command, like we mentioned, resulting in better location of pitches and fewer walks allowed. He's still, while that command has been improved, it's still inconsistent and is a work in progress, which could lead to high pitch counts and runs and not being able to get deep into starts, often showing higher vulnerability to left-handed hitters. And then the Game 3 starter, which is the lefty Noah Schultz, will get the ball on Sunday. He recently made his Major League debut. He's only made 1 start thus far. It was against the Rays in a losing effort. He went 4 1/3 innings, allowed 3 hits, 4 runs, 3 of those being earned, 4 walks, and 4 Ks. In that start, his fastball averaged 96.8 miles an hour, so it is going to be coming with some heat from the left-handed side. and he likes to work with a 6-pitch mix, a sinker, fastball, cutter, sweeper, changeup, and slider. Schultz's primary weapon is a low 80 slider with high spin rates and massive horizontal movement, which is considered a dominant weapon against lefties and righties. His fastball sits in the mid-90s, touching 99 miles an hour with high angle life. He also uses an upper 80s changeup. Despite his massive 6'10 frame, Schultz shows exceptional body control and repeats his low 3/4 arm slot delivery well, allowing for better than average control. After an injury-hampered 2025, Schultz began 2026 dominant in AAA Charlotte with a 1.48 ERA, a 10.8 K per nine, and high ground ball rates before his recent April promotion to the big leagues. Schultz's ability to stay and command his arsenal in the major leagues is the key to his 2026 outlook, with the White Sox looking for him to immediately be an anchor in their rotation. Now let's see how the A's have fared against these starters in the past. Not a ton of history between these starters. They've never faced Schultz, so you wonder how that unfamiliarity will play into the Sunday game. But in terms of their history against Davis Martin, Lawrence Butler in his past is 2 for 8 with a home run and a double. And against Eric Fetty, he's only faced Jeff McNeil. And McNeil, lifetime, and between those matchups when Fetty was a member of the Washington Nationals rotation and all the years that Jeff McNeil was at the top of the Mets order, he's gone 7 for 18 lifetime, which is a 389 batting average with a double. All right, some White Sox players to keep an eye on. Now, none of them really have gotten off to tremendous offensive starts. The batting average has been lacking across the board, but in terms of power, Muntaka Murakami is off to a hot start, 5 homers and 9 RBIs in his rookie season, as well as exciting shortstop Colson Montgomery, who has 3 home runs and 9 RBIs, respectively. Those are 2 White Sox to keep an eye on. Now, let's make a couple of predictions before we get on out of here for the weekend and prepare to enjoy some A's baseball against the Chicago White Sox. For our A's Day home run prediction, which we were thankful to get on the board in a positive way, we properly selected Shea Langoliers to hit at least 1 home run during the 4-game series against the Rangers their last series. He did so in Game 3, and it was a big home run at the time, without a doubt. We look to keep our momentum going here at A's Day. We're believing in Nick Kurtz. We believe that he is very close to breaking out in a big way. He continues to not chase at a tremendously high level. He's swinging at pitches in the zone, but just a tick off. And I feel like the way that these White Sox pitchers are going to be filling up the strike zone is going to give the Big Amish an opportunity, multiple opportunities to deliver in a big way. For our A's Day homer prediction, we believe that Nick Kurtz is going to homer at least once this weekend against the Chicago White Sox. And as for our official series prediction, we predict that the A's are going to take not 1, not 2, but all 3. We are predicting a sweep. We believe that they will win 5-1, 7-5, and 6-2. Is it easy to sweep? Absolutely not. All 30 teams are professional for a reason, but this is another barometer game in a different way. Now, we went out there and talked about how this A's team was going to be tested early with their 2 tough road trips to kick off the year, their limited action at home, and I feel like they answered the bell swimmingly after those first 6 games. Now, they're on the other side of things with increased expectations. These are the games in your house that you are expected to go out and perform and deliver. The A's, you are the better team in this matchup, on paper and to me between the lines. You are in a better standpoint as a team right now than the White Sox are. Take advantage of it. You're going to get a lot of pitches to hit. These pitchers love to fill up the zone. They don't love to give out free passes. And offensively, if you're the A's pitching staff, you go out there and don't give any of these young hitters anything free to work with. They are the worst offensive unit in baseball as they continue to learn to find their successes at the major league level. They're a young club themselves. A's are young, but have a little bit more experience, especially for what they went through as a collective last year, that now these are the games that you're expected to go out there and win. Now, I understand it's early, but these are games that you look back on if you miss out by 2-3 games. But how did that team do against those teams under 500? These are the games you got to go out there and take care of business. Now, am I going to be upset if they go out there and win 2 out of 3? No, absolutely not, because they go out there, their job at the minimum is to win this series. But my expectations have heightened, especially with how they performed in New York, how they performed against Texas to the point where they were in prime position to win that series. That if they can do that to those quality of teams, A's, do not stoop down to the level of your opponent. Rise to the occasion. Do what you've been doing best, protecting the baseball. Better than any team in baseball. We've made the least amount of errors. The pitching has been improved. And you can see the offense is slowly showing signs of waking out of its collective slumber. Guys are producing at different times. But when this offense is really deadly is when we see those bursts when they're passing the baton to one another. You're seeing the walk rate increase as games roll along. So continue. Now, this should be a good opportunity after you've been battling teams. You've been battling New York teams. You battled Atlanta. You battled Texas. Now you have an opportunity in your park to play against a sub-500 team who's coming off being swept at home. Now they have to hit the road and play a team in the A's that's been riding higher than they had to start off the year. So the A's go out there, get the job done. We're predicting a sweep, and we won't be surprised for Monday's show when we come around that we were right with this prediction. So enjoy all the baseball this weekend. Again, first pitch tonight from West Sacramento at Sutter Health Park. If you're heading out to the game, be sure to get there early, as tonight is Nick Kurtz bobblehead night. Wish we could be there for the giveaway. That's a cool one. And if you're there early, the A's are hosting a scavenger hunt where Kurtz actually signed one of them, and it's hidden in one of the seats. So be sure. Happy hunting, A's fans. Hope you enjoy the weekend set, and hopefully you'll be treated, as will I, to tons of A's successful baseball. And with that brings us to the conclusion of another edition of A's Day. We appreciate you stopping by and hearing our thoughts on the Athletics. On today's show, we recapped what went down over the 4-game set as the A's and Rangers split 2-2, a very competitive and tight series all throughout to kick off the 7-game homestand. At the back half of today's show, we carried on previewing their next opponent, the Chicago White Sox, who are in West Sacramento, scheduled for first pitch tonight, 6:40 p.m., and rolling along through the weekend at Sutter Health Park for a 3-game set. A's tied atop the AL West with the Texas Rangers at 10-9. Very early, but it's good. Why not just stay at the top for as long as you can? We predicted that Nick Kurtz is going to homer at least once in the series, and we predicted that the A's are going to sweep all 3 games of this series against the White Sox. That's all we have for you. We'll be back behind the mic for Monday's show. We're going to recap what goes down against the White Sox, as well as preview their next series as they kick off. I believe it's a 6-game road trip, 6 or 7 game. I think it's a 6-game road trip. They head on up to Seattle, taking on the Mariners, the defending American League West champs, who are off to a struggling start themselves, seem to be slowly but surely finding their footing in another important AL West battle. We'll be sure to preview it just like we previewed the White Sox series and all of them thus far. That's all we have for you today. Once again, I'm your host, Joe Grotto. Hope you all have a great rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the A's action. And we can't wait to once again, hopefully, have a happy podcast for Monday's show, talking all about more A's victories. Take care, everyone. We'll see you for Monday's show. And until next time, Holy Toledo, let's go A's.